How you doing? This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and it's with great excitement that I bring you this episode in my series of the Map Reading Challenge. We're finally going to have the opportunity for you to meet the New York crew from this year, the New York Map Reading Challenge. And I'll also say, in case you're wondering, I'm taking a little break from working on my deer mount here. This is one of the bucks I harvested on a different Map Reading Challenge that I was on this year. And I videoed the whole production process of mounting a deer. So if you've ever been interested in learning how to mount a deer, make sure you watch for that series that I'm going to be putting out here in the near future. From start to finish, I videoed the whole thing, and I got all the finish work to do now with some of the painting and touch up, but right near the end. So let's jump into this one and meet the guys from the New York Map Reading Challenge. All right, sir, please state your name and your case.
I'm Corey Cowan, and I am from Elmira Heights, New York.
Well, Corey, thank you for joining us on the Map Reading Challenge. What is the thing that's been on your mind the most going into this challenge?
Getting prepared for it. It's something I've never really done before, so it's been on my mind since the day you called me. It's like, man, I need to get better in shape and don't look like a fool in front of these guys.
All right, do you have any concerns while you're, going through, this is big woods, something you haven't experienced before? I mean, is there any concerns that you have going into a big scout like this?
Not really concerns, just for me not being here or scouting like this or ever before. I'm scared that I'm not knowing what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But
You're looking for deer, by the way.
Yeah, I look for deer. Or not right now, I'm looking for
deer
sign.
I'm just kidding.
But
well, dude, thank you so much. I'm excited to have you. Here comes my hand for the shake. All right. Good job. Silvio, come on in here. So give us your name and where are you from, sir?
My name is Silvio Melian. I'm from Island Park, New York.
Long Island.
Long Island, where we have water. It's pretty close to Long Beach. People probably will know that better off than my little town. And been there for about 26 years.
So, and I know you've mentioned this before, you're self-employed.
I am self-employed.
You own your own business. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a licensed master plumber, but I'm also a general contractor, and I build and I tinker. I do a lot of little...
How does your work experience kind of correlate with your hunting? Do you see any correlation?
Yeah, it's a mess. And now that I'm really into bow hunting, I'm looking at a 2x4, I'm thinking, hey, I can make a bow and arrow out of this thing.
Yeah.
And,
all right, so Silvio, what inspired you to apply to be on the Map Reading Challenge this year?
I actually enjoy all your videos.
Oh.
It's one of those things where when you see one video of a person, you go, oh, I'll never watch that guy again. But there's an intriguing nature that while watching Sean's Outdoor Adventures, you actually learn stuff. And, where other videos, you just see somebody else end up getting the prize animal. Whereas you're teaching us how to go and find. First of all, finding a deer on public land is tough. Having the rules of engagement and knowing what to look for is a big thing. So the Map Reading Challenge videos, I look forward to them because I can see that these guys that are going out there aren't really familiarized with knowing topography and trying to figure out where vegetation grows. And it's like we were talking about the white acorns, look for things, white oak. I mean, you kind of get a sense that when you're doing a Map Reading Challenge, you have to be more focused. You're not just going blindly into the woods and hoping that a deer crosses your path. Right.
So, I just bumped this. The whole time you were saying that stuff about me, I just had the urge to do this.
All right.
But I wanted to at least wait till you were done. But that was nice of you to say. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem.
Now, so this is totally different. Long Island's flat. I think there's a lot of fields where in your area, I think you were saying.
It's all
so this is out of your element in that regard, but you do have experience hunting the mountains. You hunt in the Catskills, is that correct?
I do hunt the Catskills, and it's straight up.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I chose this area as opposed to there is because it's a little forgiving on the steepness of the hills here. But how are you gonna? What skills and ideas will you take from that type of hunting to the scout today here?
Well, what I realized, deer have their pattern. They're gonna bed down. They're gonna wait till it's safe. They're gonna start walking around. You have to be kind of near that bedding area so that you know when they start to move and why they're moving. Obviously, you know, we're on public land. There's going to be hikers. There's going to be people walking through. You know,
Loggers. We hear the
loggers.
logging truck going right now.
Logging truck going on right now. So, you know, the deer are going to be moved, but hopefully that type of pressure is not really going to keep them away from you know where you want to be hunting.
Well, so Silvio, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. I love the fact that you're with us, and I love your name. I've never known a Silvio before. That's awesome.
Like four in the world.
Okay, so thank you, and good luck to you, Silvio. I want to see you bag a nice buck. Let's see
Thanks.
what happens.
Thanks, Sean.
There's only 4 in the world.
Last but not least,
Save the best for last.
that's what we do.
Probably.
All right, who are you? I don't know. Wait a second here. Who is this masked man?
Super fan outdoors here. Joe Mainville here from Lansing, New York, about an hour south of Syracuse.
Okay, so Joe, whether you realize it or not, I was doing multiple things when we met up last year. One was I wanted to meet up with you as a way of thanking you for the things you do in supporting Sean's Outdoor Adventures. You know, with the sticker you made and had put on your car, all that kind of stuff. But I was also considering this large tract of land for a potential map reading challenge location, and I did it, and I picked you and some of these other guys because it's a commutable distance that if you wanted to come back and hunt, you could. And we're trying to, part of this is trying to help you expand your territory, and we were talking about that. So Joe, talk to me about how does expanding your hunting territory fit into your current regime for preparing for hunting season?
So, kind of for me, what it's come down to is that I kind of grew up just like a regular season gun hunter on some private property. Never had a whole lot of experience with public land. I took on bow hunting, and that was just that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to my hunting life. It's kind of consumed me, but the best.
How about for your family life? Though?
Well, I have a great wife who's super understanding.
Praise the Lord for that.
So bow hunting is the challenge for me compared to gun hunting. Public land is that challenge compared to private land. So you're kind of compounding that whole thing and just having more opportunity around the state. I travel for work, so to the ability, kind of bringing this whole map challenge full circle, is that I'm able to look at a map in an area that I've never been to. And, again, with my work, I travel all over the state. And to have the confidence to go into a piece of ground that I've never been into and think that I'm going to come across something is pretty cool.
So you work a lot with farmers. Do you ever ask them to hunt their land and things like that? I mean, how's that? Because I'm sure a lot of us salivate at the thought of being able to visit farmers all day.
Yeah, I mean, I cover like 15 to 20,000 acres a week. Problem is, and it's not a problem, it's just a problem for me, is that farmers are definitely willing to let you use some of their land for the price.
Oh, so they lease price.
I've talked to a number of farmers, and they're like, somebody else's hobby has to pay for my hobby, so they lease it out.
Gotcha.
And I mean, a lot of it could be, respectable prices, and that's it's somebody's willing to do it.
Right.
I spend enough on hunting trying to pay for a lease.
And there's all this available to us, and we're going to just hopefully we'll have some success to show for it, that you can go out and be successful in public land. And that's, I mean, we represent a large cast of people out there, in that not everyone could afford their own land or their own lease, and they have to do the best they can with the public land. So how about you? Have you had any sense of how we're going to do this year? Any prediction?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Pretty good?
I'm at a spot that I've never been in before, looking at the maps and, talking to everybody out here. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. So how about we wrap up this and we get to the woods and do some scouting. Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
I guess I should. This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures. So anyway, I'm excited about this year's Map Reading Challenge, New York edition. And guys, I will have to say this on camera. And it's your choice, but there was a friendly competition offered from the Maryland crew of whose group collectively could come up with the best score from the Map Reading Challenge. And I said, well, I'll present it to the guys in New York, but I have to say this. The cards are stacked against you for 2 reasons, guys. One, that whole group is veteran Map Reading Challenge hunters. And two, and this is a big one, there is about 3 to 4 times as many deer per square mile in the place we're hunting in Maryland than there is here. Meaning, there's a lot more deer that you'd have a crack at. And so you have those two things against you, but if you want, the Maryland crew has offered a friendly competition of the Maryland crew versus the New York crew. What I would like to do is maybe us all get together and maybe we could have some form of a prize for the crew. But that's one thing I want to say is you're part of a family now. You're part of the map reading family and map reading challenge family. And so, you know, not just now, but in the future, I want us to be an organization or a group of people that do this. And I could foresee us doing like a get together in the summertime, bring the bows, maybe do some shooting, have a cookout picnic. But something fun, you know, and it's something that you have in common with people you haven't met yet, but you will. And inspiring other hunters out there to look at some maps and push yourself beyond where you're currently at and look at land you have never looked at before and scout it and hunt it and see how good did you do. And then if you weren't successful, use that to push you for the next year. What am I going to do differently next year to help me, you know, be more successful? And that's what it's all about. It's not necessarily just about scoring on a deer. It's about scoring on good information to make you a better hunter. And I have a saying, I've said it before here and there, and I've kind of developed, I live by this now, but every time I enter the woods, it becomes that much harder for the deer to survive me. Which means every time I enter the woods, I am learning something that if I wasn't successful, take careful notes. There's a red squirrel right there. You know, what caused that? Sometimes the squirrels can mess you up, but they could also indicate where the food sources are. Cell phones can mess you up. But every time I'm pulling information so that I'm better come next time, and I want to be successful every time I possibly can. So, so as we go into the challenge, it's not just about harvesting a deer. That's obviously important and a hope, but it's about becoming better than you were when you went into it.
That's one thing that this other group has to understand. If we are going to do this competition, they have to do better than last year.
Yes.
Or it don't count.
Yes. So, okay, Maryland crew, you have to, we had 2 deer harvests in the Maryland crew last year, and they were both doe. So you have to at least get 1 buck for your scores to even count. Now, I often have people write to me saying, man, I'd love to just pick your brain about hunting and things like that. So this next couple clips, I'm just going to put in here. These are the guys, a couple of the guys asking me some questions and me just giving them some feedback on their questions. And I'm adding this in there in case it gives any good ideas or helpful ideas to you as a hunter.
So what makes this place a map reading challenge?
All right. The reason I chose this is because there's a lot of sort of diversity with the topography here, and it's big. And so I was looking for a place that had some diversity, which this does, and I wanted something big because I wanted to be able to spread everybody out. Like pretty much everyone has about square mile to work with, which is a lot of land.
That's a lot of land.
And that's the whole point. One of the nice things about doing a challenge like this is, and having so much land to kind of work with, if you mess up in an area or spook the deer all up, you just go a mile away to the other side of your little quadrant and give it a go over there. So I wanted big, and I wanted topography, but also I didn't want anything that was so radical that was going to like kill people. Like some of the stuff I was looking at, even over closer to you, over kind of toward the Catskills, some of that terrain gets quite steep, and I was like, because you got to drag a deer up or down, and I was like,
around, sure.
Yeah. So this was a great mix because the hills were not as radical yet. There was stuff to work with there from a topographic standpoint, and yeah. So that was my reason.
It's pretty thick.
Yeah.
This part.
It is very thick. Yeah.
It seems like there's some logging going on over there.
Oh, is there? I don't doubt it, because
Up on the left.
one thing I've noticed about New York is they're really good about their forest management.
Right.
They do almost continuous select cuts, which helps keep the vegetation nice and thick because it allows the sunlight in.
Right.
So, I mean, I've hunted most of my life in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is really behind the ball on that. But I really appreciated the habitat that the New York that they've created for the animals and for hunting. It's good in that it makes a good environment for the deer.
Sure.
But sometimes it's hard to hunt because you're not allowed to like cut the trees up to make shooting lanes. And there's times where I found great spots, but you can't hunt it because you can't shoot through the stuff, and you can't like mow it all down with a saw and stuff. So that creates a challenge sometimes. But all things considered, though, it's great habitat, and that's one of the reasons I like these particular areas.
Okay, so I had a question.
Yeah.
Because basically my southern boundary starts at this road, and I'm working north of here.
Yeah.
I see all this logging over here.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of logs sitting on a landing over here. What will this activity that they're doing now affect
Okay.
what I've got to deal with
Interestingly
later?
enough, deer, when they're logging like this, they will come in and eat the leaves from the branches of the trees that have been logged, the trees that they prefer.
Okay.
So it'll actually bring deer in. The machinery and equipment doesn't bother them very much. And so it's going to alter deer movement a little bit, but it's not pushing the deer completely out of the area. And I mean, there's been videos, when I was a kid growing up, one of the first hunting videos I watched, this guy was just ground hunting. And he was at a clear cut where they were doing logging one day, and he spots this giant, like 23-point buck bedded down like 50 yards from a bulldozer. I mean, there was no work going on that day. Maybe it hadn't been going on for a couple days. I don't know. But the point is, the deer, to some extent, they don't feel spooked away by the activity because they know it's not directed at them. You know what I mean? They can sense the difference between hunting pressure and human activity. Human activity will push the deer around a little bit, but if it's not like where they're feeling pressured or there's, they'll come in, and in that scenario, the buck knew when these people come, that's when I want to leave, so I'm going to sit here and watch for them to come.
Okay.
He was not far from the bulldozer. Our map's blowing away there. And so, so in a certain sense, you can view it as a food source in that they're going to eat those leaves of the freshly cut trees.
Okay.
They will bed down in those, like if they create piles of those branches that are being cut off, the deer will often bed down around those.
Okay.
So let's say if you have a quadrant that has been logged earlier in the summer and there hasn't been any activity in it, human activity recently, the deer, excuse me, let's start that again. So if you have an area that, there hasn't been a lot of human activity in, recently, and there's a lot of, piles that the deer can bed down around, they could be now utilizing those as bedding areas. Okay. And so it would benefit you to walk around some of those and see what's the deer sign now. And we just had that heavy rain last night. So what that's going to do is if there was any deer movement this morning and last night, you'll see those tracks. It's been so dry previously though that, the deer you wouldn't have been able to detect in most scenarios unless you had a water puddle somewhere. Yeah. But so it'll be nice. We'll get a footprint of what was the deer movement this morning since 6 a.m. because that's around when the heavy rain stopped. And but it could be good. You know what I mean? So don't let that frighten you away. And I'm sure there's a lot of hunters too that'll think, oh, they logged that, the deer aren't going to be around there. But they'll still move through there. It's just a matter of their patterns are now going to be changed a little bit because maybe where their trails were before, there could be a bunch of there could be a bunch of log leftover stuff blocking those trails. So now they're diverted around it, and so there could be some changes in their travel, but also in their bedding. Like maybe they used to bed down on that hillside over there, but now this is more favorable because there's more advantages for them in bedding down over here where these I keep calling them blowdowns, where the logging pile, the branches and stuff are. So,
okay.
So yeah, it's I would say in your scouting today, try to identify the older stuff, like what was done earlier this summer, because the deer are going to be more acclimated to that as far as more of a routine.
Okay.
Like with the human activity, they're still going to be getting bounced around. They're not going to be on a routine, and that hurts for hunting.
Yeah.
They're going to utilize the area, but how do I pattern them for my setup? You know, and so I would say try to find that earlier summer activity where they're done logging, and because the deer are probably getting a little bit more on a pattern there again.
Okay.
After that, it was time to hand out this year's hats.
Still trying to find.
All right, guys, I gotta tell you something. Now, last year, I gave the other guys these Sean Outdoor Adventures hat, and I'm not gonna do that this year because I got a different hat for this year.
What did we get? Sombreros? Berets. I think we
I
should
now
get berets.
have the Map Reading Challenge hats.
What? No way.
So you each are going to get your own Map Reading Challenge hat. So let me just give these out real quick, and then we'll move on to the next phase of our agenda here. So I as of last year, I also signed these for you just as a little thing. So Corey, your Map Reading Challenge hat.
Oh man, thank you very much, sir.
Corey Cowan. Joe Mainville.
Thank you. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man, thank you.
awesome.
Silvio.
I can throw this hat away now. Stupid tip hat. Silvio, be careful of Satan.
I was worried it didn't have anything about showing outdoor adventure. I was like, oh man, I was like, sweet, it's on the back.
Yeah. Yep, got the
Nice.
website on the back. The next thing on my agenda was to go over the maps with each of the guys. So I met up with each guy and went over the maps for his designated quadrant. And I just wanted to give them some tips and insights in some areas that I would really focus on to try to give them a little extra help in the scouting part of this map reading challenge. Now, since we had an early start for this scouting mission here, I allotted a little extra time for the guys to just hang out and talk and really gel as a team. And here's one of the interesting stories that came out with Corey.
Different.
So tell me your story again then. So work had a competition.
Yep, had a competition. It was it was a New Year's resolution competition kind of thing. We all wanted to see who can lose the most weight.
In a
by the
2-month time period, or?
It
You said it
was
was,
February 1st we had to weigh in, so it was 2 months.
Did you win $1 million?
No, it was just to keep us motivated. We all pitched in $50.
Okay.
You know, just
Want a spot on Sean's outdoor.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Who gets to put the application in? No, but long story short, I was the biggest loser.
The biggest loser of the
And
Congratulations, by the way. May I
Oh,
shake your
thanks.
hand? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
you're amazing.
Yeah, I continued it because I knew that's not where
Right.
I wanted to be, and
So you kept losing the weight.
kept losing weight. Then I got a call from you. I was like, oh man,
I'm
I'm thinner, but I can't walk up a hill. So I started running. Started a mile. I worked to a mile. Worked to 2 miles, and about 3 weeks ago I ran 8 miles.
Wow.
So
God bless you, man. That's awesome.
it wasn't fast miles, but it was 8 miles.
Well, you'll be doing about 8 miles today during the scouting trip, I'll tell you that.
I love the outdoors. So
I always keep reminding myself it's progress, not perfection.
yeah,
I just got to keep moving forward.
So after that, we split up and went to our areas to do some scouting. And I gotta say, I have been wanting to get a new vehicle for a few years now, something a little better suited for hunting, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I had some sketchy stuff to get through to get to my spot. Hopefully come next year, I'm gonna have something that sits a little higher off the ground and hopefully all-wheel drive, so that I don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Trying to get to my spot, and this being as deep as it is and muddy as it is, it's almost hard for this little car to get through. I'm gonna have to kind of gun it. Oof. That's the price you pay to hunt in these locations. My goodness. If it had got any worse, the rain last night, I don't know if I would be able to make it back here. One interesting thing though is that there's fresh tracks from this morning coming back here, so here we are in the beginning of August, and at least there's somebody back here doing something. One reason it's so crucial with this, identifying if your white oaks have acorns, is with bow hunting, it's crucial. Every yard, every single yard counts. So if I set up in the wrong spot 20 yards over that way, and they're all feeding under this tree right here, I may not have a shot to this tree. And sometimes calling doesn't work either, so you really got to identify where the deer are going to be. And so having binoculars and looking for those acorns in the tops of the tree can make the whole difference. So here's a good story for you. I'm following this bench, a very faint bench across this steep hillside, hoping that I can find a good filter point where the deer are going to funnel through a tight area, or maybe be able to get a bow shot on them. And so I kind of walk the bench out to where it fades out. And I'm like, okay, let me pick a tree for a potential climber here. And I walk over to this tree right here. Nice, decently straight tree. And then I look over here on the ground. And you got your metal fold-up chair from your gun hunter that just probably leaves it there every year. This is a good area, especially for gun, because you can shoot all the way down across the bench here, and it's open with the pines. But I was using this topographically as a funnel point. See if I could get the shot on a deer. I'm still going to save the waypoint because I imagine that's somebody who comes in gun season. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I call it the wisdom of the elders. When you come across a hunting setup like that sometimes, it's because people who've hunted here for years figured out where the deer are just from seeing them here and there. And reading topography will put you right in there. So I just reached one of my waypoints, not knowing, just based on topography. And lo and behold, there's oak trees here dropping acorns. It's August the 6th. But as you can see, here's a fresh acorn. And when I'm kind of scouting quick, I look at the ground at the different types of leaves. So here's a red oak leaf, and here's a white oak leaf right here, a little bit mangled up. So it's important to stop and look at your different oak trees nearby to determine which one is the white oak and is it the one dropping the acorns. So I'm under the red oak right now. So I imagine that this is a red oak acorn, and but I want to identify that white oak because that is definitely a preferred food source, and it's really crucial to get those food sources identified for in the fall. Not the nicest road in the world, but I'm headed back from Scout, meeting with the guys at the base camp, and I gotta tell you, I found some okay stuff, but nothing that really gets me excited. And I put on a lot of miles, 6-8 miles, something like that today, and we'll see. I'm just gonna have to go back, analyze what I looked at, and just say, hey, what is the best case scenario with what I saw today? And there wasn't too many really solid spots that I felt this will definitely put a buck in front of me kind of spot. So, we're gonna see what happens. Be back here in October, give it the best shot I can. That's all you can do. Pray that God will bless it. Let's go meet the other guys and see how they did. Well, as you can see there, I just did not have a whole lot of confidence after that scouting mission. And at this stage of my hunting career, I've been hunting a long time. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I need to see to really be effective and successful. And I wasn't seeing enough of what I needed. So I was just going to go back and give it my best when we do the map reading challenge. But if it was up to me and I was just by myself, I wouldn't bother going back. I would just keep searching. I would do another scouting trip somewhere else until I found what I was looking for. But let's see how the other guys made out and if they're feeling a little bit better about their spots than I am about mine. And keep in mind, I covered about 8 miles. So to go 8 miles and not see what you want to see for hunting, that's a lot of territory. Oh yeah, I'll get back to that in a second. So tell me what you saw, man.
What did I see?
Did you see anything?
I did.
Did you see anything you liked?
I did.
Oh yeah, tell me what you liked.
Well, actually, I started walking in about 15 minutes in. Well, let me back up a little. I
2
set
minutes
everything
in.
up. I set everything up. I have a GoPro, put it on, SD card, no good. It's too full. So I change it out. Put another one. It says it's good. Pop it on my hat. Start walking in. About 15 minutes in, I stop. Start tying my shoelaces. And I'm right in the path of a doe and a fawn.
Nice.
And they're walking right up toward me. So I just stop. So I casually lean over, hit the GoPro, hit the record button, and it makes a weird beep.
Beep, beep.
So I said, okay, it's on. So I'm not trying to spook the deer. I'm trying to see which way she goes, if she's going to walk by me, maybe, I don't know. And the next thing I know, it goes beep, 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 beep.
It's battery dying.
And I'm saying, is it the battery? So I don't want to make any movement. So all of a sudden, she just looks at me and she wanders away. She starts trotting off. Little fawn trots off. I'm like, cool. Take my hat off, the camera off my hat, and I look and it says, SD card not formatted.
Ugh.
And I said, oh, that was a waste. So I said, all right, you know what? I'll format it while there. So I pop it out, put it on my phone. It says SD card locked. Because I took it from my phone to the GoPro and back to the phone. So it locked the card out. So I was like, oh, now I got to use Old Reliable, the cell phone. So I put it on my regular memory. And I'm walking through it and I said, all right, I'm going to walk around and see what else I see. Start walking a little bit from, boom, I spook another deer. Up, runs. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I turn around and now I got the phone in one hand, I got all my stuff, and I'm trying to catch this deer as he's running. And I think I got a glimpse of him, and I'm like, that wasn't good. That wasn't going to be a good shot. But plenty of deer sign, plenty of bear scat. Bear scat everywhere.
Bear season will be open, bud.
Oh boy, yeah, there was everywhere.
I'll tell you what.
I found a drop off that, I mean, the deer just can't. It's suicide. It's a suicide leap. I got it on video. I mean, you see this thing. I mean, you can't even imagine how deep this drop off is. And I'm saying this is a perfect little funnel.
Yep.
They're just going to cruise. The bucks are going to cruise right on that edge, just like you said. And I said, this is perfect. This is a good spot. And then all of a sudden, I was looking around. I saw a lot of acorns. I saw some berries. I don't know if they're edible for the deer. They probably are.
Oh yeah.
Little red ones. Yeah. I think we can't eat them, but they can. Found a whole tree
were
of
they
those.
round and smooth looking?
Round and smooth looking.
Yeah, they'll eat the leaves on those usually.
But they won't eat the berry, right? The berry, I think,
Not
is a
typically.
little
They usually
bitter or toxic or
they
whatever.
just eat the leaves on it.
And I was like, wow, this is a good spot. So I waypointed that, walked up a little bit forward, found a nice little draw where everything runs into. Perfect little spot, waypointed that. But I'll tell you, going down is easy.
Coming up.
Coming back, I mean, it was a 2-hour trek down. It was a 2.5-hour trek back up.
And imagine having a deer to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be rough. Well, I'll have a deer cart with me.
Oh, good.
Which will help.
Because if it gets shot, hopefully it drops right there.
Yeah.
No spine shots, but, maybe something.
Well, you hit the heart and lungs usually. They don't go too far,
Not too far. 30 yards down. But, yeah. It was
cool, man. I'm glad you're excited.
It was a nice spot. And I did come up on some hiker, and he didn't recognize me in all my camo. And I was going to wear a little blaze orange. Just
you don't recognize me now, but I am Silvio.
I'm the guy in the camo on, the only guy in camo in the woods right now, which that was fine. But I spooked one guy and he said, "Whoa," so it's okay, it's all right. I don't know what he was doing.
I don't have any weapons.
No weapons.
Yeah.
Bear spray. Yeah. But yeah, it was a very nice piece of land, and the weather, thank God.
Yeah, it held out.
The weather held out really good. There was a breeze once in a while, and once you're in the shade, it was good to go. No ticks.
Yep.
No bugs. So yeah, it was a great day, great trek. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I was hiking through the woods and saw a Christmas tree right in the middle of the woods.
That's funny.
All decorated and everything.
I don't see anything.
Joe, welcome back. Tell us what you did. Tell us what you saw.
Saw a little bit of everything. Saw some track and some sign, little scat, a lot of bedding.
Well, that's good. You found some bedding.
I did. And most of the kind of food plot fields.
Right.
I found quite a bit of bedding, but
Yeah, they'll
nothing.
lay down there in the nighttime.
Yep, but not as much sign as I kind of anticipated that I would see. A little more in these areas down here, less in my northern spots, which is about opposite of what I was kind of anticipating.
Right.
But I think overall it was, it gives me a lot more to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have an exact spot in mind
Right.
come October 1st,
Right.
but I've got some stuff I can work
Yeah,
with.
that's kind of like my take. I wasn't really seeing what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And it was like I was seeing sign, but not that I felt confident it would consistently put there on a daily basis, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they could come through here once or twice a week, and it depends on what day it is, you know.
Yeah, there was one spot that I came across that had like the best sign of tracks that seemed fairly fresh.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty difficult to get to,
Right.
you know, and it's pretty limited on the winds that would allow me to get in there.
Right.
So it's going to take some thought, but it was fun. It was definitely adventure.
That's cool. So you and I are kind of in the same boat. Sylvia was jumping deer and having great sign. And Corey over here says Maryland group's in trouble.
Yep, they're going down. Said Maryland is in trouble.
Oh yeah? Tell me why.
A lot of deer sign.
That's good.
We could have done it blind, man.
That's cool.
We could have done it blind. Just use what you taught me, you know, on the videos, and
Yeah.
it was just basically go there. Yep, there's sign. Go to the next spot. Yep, there's sign.
That's cool. These guys are pumped up, they're excited, and they are feeling confident. So let's see what they have. All they need is to get one buck on the ground, and they take the prize of beating the Maryland group for this map reading challenge.